YouTube, I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC Fight Night, Felder versus Dos Anjos. Let's start them on. The first fight is Dontel Mays versus Ro Martinez. I can't say his first name good. To me, I think this is just two decent strikers going at it. I'm leaning towards Martinez, though. I just think in terms of overall striking ability, he's a little bit better. Dontel is a little bit more athletic and probably a tiny bit faster, but I don't think that's going to matter. I think at heavyweight, once he starts to slow down, I think Martinez is going to start to walk him down. I think Martinez is going to catch him eventually and knock him out. So I'm going with Martinez to win by TKO in like the second or third. Next is Geraldo de Felipe Faritas versus Tony Gravely. And I think Geraldo's probably a little bit better of a striker and probably a little bit better with his jiu-jitsu overall, but I don't think it really matters. I think the wrestling's just too strong in Tony's favor. I think he can hit takedowns and control Felipe on the grounds, or Ferrantes on the ground whenever he wants. And I just think that's the hugest thing in this fight, is just there's just such a huge, massive wrestling advantage for Tony that I think he's going to win a pretty dominant 30-27 decision. Next is Randa Marcos versus Kanko Murata, and to me, I just think it's probably a size thing. I don't think Murata's super big, and I think, especially in the first, if Marcos can get her to the ground, I think she's going to win by sub, and I think she will. I think Marcos is probably a little bit better of a striker overall. And in terms of the overall grappling, Murata's probably a little bit better, but I don't think it matters early. I think if Marcos is ever on top of her, especially early, she's going to win by sub, and that's just what I see happening. I think it's going to be a first-round win by armbar, and get choked from Marcos. Next is Jose Albert Quinones versus Louis Smolka, and this is pretty much just striker versus grappler. I think if it is on the feet, Smolka can at least hang with Quinones, but on the ground, I don't think it's close at all. I think Smolka just wipes him out. I think that's what the game plan is probably going to be for Smolka, is just throw with him a little bit, get it to the ground, and then once it's there, Smolka's going to have a significant advantage. I think Smolka's going to win by first round sub. I just think other than him getting caught with a big shot, he just, eventually gets us to the ground and wins by submission. So I got Smolka winning by either first or second round sub. Next, we got Alex Morono versus Ryan McKee. And to me, McKee, I don't know why he keeps fighting at welterweight. Like, if he needs more time to cut the lightweight, he should, because he's not a very big welterweight. I think that he's a good striker, but I think he's fighting another guy who's also a really good striker. And I also think Morono's got a big advantage in the grappling. And I wouldn't be surprised if he uses that. I think he's way bigger than McKee. McKee's like a long, tall guy, but he's one of those Nate guys where it's like, yeah, you can fight at 70, but realistically you should be fighting at 55 just because there's not much bulk on his physique. And that's what I think is going to be what is going to happen. I think these guys are going to have a decent back-and-forth striking fight, but if Morono ever decides to take it to the ground, he's going to win by sub. And this is what I see happening. I think Morono does that eventually and takes it down and wins by submission in the first or second round. Next is Ashley Yoder versus Miranda Granger, and I think this is going to be a slow-paced jiu-jitsu fight, and I'm slightly leaning towards Miranda. I don't have much to say about this fight. I haven't seen Miranda fight that much to know too much about her, and Yoder, I definitely think she has the advantage in the boxing, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think it's mostly going to be a grappling fight. It's close. Like, I could see Yoder pulling this out just because I think her takedown defense is pretty solid, but I'm going to lean towards Granger. I just think she's the younger, stronger fighter at this point, but I don't think this fight's going to be super exciting. I think she wins a 29-20 decision for Granger. Next is Kay Henson versus Corey McKenna, and I think it's going to be the exact same thing as the last fight. I think it's going to be kind of a slow, kind of not the greatest grappling fight of all time, and I'm leaning slightly towards McKenna. Neither of these chicks are that amazing anywhere. I think they're both primarily jiu-jitsu chicks. Kay is probably a little bit better of a striker, but I'm just leaning towards Corey. I think she can get to the ground and win at least a 29-20 decision. On the main card, like, this whole card is pretty weak, in all honesty. Like, the whole fucking card, other than the main event. Next we got Brendan Allen versus Sean Strickland, and this fight's at 195. It's probably because both guys are taking this on really short notice. To me, the way I feel about this fight is, if this is ever on the ground, Allen's got a massive advantage. On the feet, Strickland's probably more technical and better at using his foot movement. I think Allen probably hits a bit harder, and if he can turn into a brawl, has an advantage. I don't think he'll be able to, but I just think Allen will be able to get this to the ground. And I think if he's able to get it there, like I said, I think he's got a really big advantage, and I think he's going to win by TKO from ground and pound or sub. I think it's going to be a close fight, but I'm leaning towards Allen. I think that, he struggles a little bit at first to get to the ground, but eventually he does, and I think he gets like a late first round or second round TKO or submission. Next is Eric Anders versus Antonio Arroyo, and to me it's really tough because Eric Anders is so up and down. If it's just a straight kickboxing match, then I think he slightly edges it out, and I don't think Arroyo has the takedown ability to get Anders to the ground. I think it's going to be a slow kickboxing match, kind of like Anders' last few fights, and I think he just slightly edges it out with his ability to kind of push Antonio against the fence and just edge out the close parts of the round. I think Eric Anders is going to win either a 29-28 decision or a 30-27 decision. Next is Julian Marquez versus Spivak. I can't say his first name very good. To me, there's just two really good brawlers going at it. I think Julian, if he does use his wrestling, is definitely the better grappler. You never know. He could not. I think it's going to be pretty much just a non-stop brawl from start to finish. And like I said, if Julian ever needs to, he can use his grappling, which isn't significantly better, but it's definitely better, and he could probably win by sub. And this is what I see happening. I think that this fight will be fun and back and forth for as long as it lasts, but eventually Marquez is going to time a takedown and win by sub. I think he's going to realize that he's not going to be able to knock out Spivak, and Spivak's hitting him, and he's just going to be smart eventually after they duke it out for like 3 or 4 minutes, and I think he's going to win the first round, like rear naked choke or guillotine. So I'm going with Martinez to win by like late first round sub. Next we got Alisahan Abdullah Razak versus Chaos Williams, and this is basically two really good strikers going at it, but I'm leaning towards Alisahan. I think that both these guys are just fast, big fire punch throw guys, and I just prefer Alisahan. I think if it's down to speed and power, I think he can beat most people, especially if it's just a first round swinging back and forth type of fight, which I think this is going to be. And like I said, I favor Alisahan. I think that's what's going to happen. I think both guys are just going to meet in the middle, swing it out for like a 60-second thing, and one guy's going to catch the other guy first. It's going to kind of be like when Kama Worthy fought Devontae Smith. They were just kind of going at it, and eventually Kama Worthy knocked out Devontae Smith. And I think it's going to be the same thing. I think they're just going to be swinging back and forth, and I think Alisahan's eventually going to catch him and knock him out pretty early in the first. Finally, onto the main event, we got Paul Felder versus Rafael dos Anjos, RDA. To me, the biggest thing is just the weight cut. If RDA can make this weight cut and look as good as he has in some of the fights at 70, I think he wins this fight all day. I think he's the faster guy overall, and I think the biggest thing is, it's not like Paul Felder has this insane takedown defense. Like, it's good, but it's not amazing. And if dos Anjos can get him to the ground, I think he's got a huge advantage in terms of the grappling. And like you said, I mean, you look, Dan Hooker was able to take Paul Felder down a couple times. What was his name? Edson Barboza took him down in the middle of the second round, I think. He caught like a body kick. I think 100% if those guys can take down Felder, dos Anjos should be able to take down Felder. Like I said, the biggest thing for me is just the weight cut, and it's like, if dos Anjos can make this weight cut and look good, he should be able to win this fight. I think he eventually takes it to the ground and gets his back or something and wins by rear naked choke. Because, once again, Paul Felder, like, I remember, all I can ever think about when it comes to his grappling is that fight against not Barboza, but, Charles Oliveira, where Charles Oliveira basically had a deep darce the whole time, he just couldn't finish it. And to me, it's just like, yeah, Paul Felder, I know he's never been submitted, but I feel like the best black belt he fought was Barboza, or not Barboza, I keep saying Barboza, but I meant Oliveira. And he almost got submitted by a darce, like, super early, and I feel like if dos Anjos is in, like, almost the exact same position, he's going to finish it, because I just think dos Anjos, you know, when he locks and chokes, they're a little bit tighter. I think Oliveira now, when he locks and chokes, but at that point, he was still in that evolution where Oliveira's at the point now where he locks and chokes, those things are done. I think the same thing with dos Anjos. If he's in, like, that exact same position, that's probably it. Like, if he gets an arm triangle or rear naked choke, he's going to win by sub. I think this fight will be back and forth. I think it'll be a good kickboxing match, but like I said, I think eventually dos Anjos catches a kick or times a solid takedown, and when he does, I think he takes the back or takes mount and wins by rear naked choke or arm triangle. So I'm leaning towards dos Anjos to win by either like second or third round sub. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.